Okay, tak apa. Ni betul dah. Alright. Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Hari ni colourful sikit lah sebab nak keluar. Boleh cakap macam tu. Okay. Alright, so first sekali kena test mic dulu siapa yang ada. So kita test mic dulu. Okay ke? Dengar? Boleh dengar? Morning. Awal korang bangun. Kawan-kawan lain tengah breakfast lagi kot. Okay, so now let us start. Okay, so this is chapter 6, polynomial. And we are at the first lecture out of 3. So that means by next week we are supposed to finish chapter 6. And then we are going to start with a new chapter, chapter 7, called the trigonometric function. So let's start then. Oh, by the way, hi untuk orang yang datang awal. Hi. Okay, so we have 3 subtopic. We have polynomial, so just an introduction on polynomial, and then what are the operation in polynomial. So those are in 6.1, and then 6.2 we have a few theorem, and then a few things that we need to know and remember, of course. So you have to know what is the remainder theorem, the factor theorem, and then the zeros of polynomial. So how to find the zeros of a polynomial. And then in 6.3, we are going to learn partial fractions. Okay, so partial fractions, I think this one can be a little bit new to you guys. So we're going to do partial fraction for the proper as well as the improper fraction. So I think we're going to see them this coming Wednesday. So hari Rabu ni lah. Baru kita tengok 6.3. Masuk sikit lah 6.3. I think I'll go with the proper fraction first, and then next week we are going to do the improper fraction. Okay, so now let us start with polynomial. So what do we define as the polynomial? Oh, by the way, learning outcome, forgot. Okay, learning outcome, we should be able to perform the addition, subtraction and multiplication of polynomial, and then perform the division of polynomial. So basically for A, I leave that to you guys. So you can go to the example 1, example 2 and example 3. So basically example 1 up until example 3. So you guys can try to do that on your own. So you can do the addition, subtraction, multiplication on your own. So what I'm going to do is this one, the B, perform the division of polynomial, because for this one we got to do the long division. So some of you might never heard of long division before, so I have to cover how to perform the division of a polynomial. And then we are going to do 6.2, which is to relate the remainder bukan reminder tau, remainder and factor theorem to solve the problem. So we are going to learn what is the remainder theorem, the factor theorem, and how to apply them to solve the question. Okay, so let us proceed with 6.1, polynomial. Okay, so what is polynomial? So you can have polynomial in this form: an xn, an minus 1, x to the power of n minus 1, an minus 1, xn minus 1, plus a1x plus a naught. So these are called the polynomial. So we only have one variable over here, which is the x. So kalau kita ada px, so that means everything is actually in terms of x. Okay, so let me show you some example for this. Okay, so we can have a constant polynomial, so constant function fx equal to b. So the degree for this polynomial is 0. And then you can have another function called the linear function. So fx is equal to ax plus b, and the degree for this polynomial is 1. And you can have something called the quadratic function. So quadratic function is ax squared plus bx plus c, and the degree for this polynomial is 2. Okay, so the fourth example that I'm going to give you is, of course, a cubic function. Okay, so cubic function, we have ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d, and the degree for this is exactly 3. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you one thing. What is actually the degree? Why do we say that the degree for this is 0? The degree for this is 1, the degree for this is 2, and the degree for this is 3. So what does it mean by a degree of a polynomial? Apakah itu degree untuk polynomial? Bukan ijazah degree. Degree tu bukan ijazah. Okay, so what does it mean by degree of a polynomial? So write down your answer untuk orang yang ada. Ting, 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 ting. Tiba-tiba je rasa insecure, rasa macam nampak gemuk pula. Sabar je. Ada? Ada yang nak cuba? What is the degree of the polynomial? Okay dah, kasih Chan kot tengah breakfast lagi kot. Sambil-sambil minum air, makan ke kan? Okay, tak apalah. Bagi Chan. Okay, so what is the degree for a polynomial? So you should check what is the highest degree in your function. So the highest degree for this one is x to the power of 1. So that is why the degree for this polynomial is 1. The highest power of x. Betul lah you? The highest power of x. Okay, so quadratic function, the degree for this is 2. Why? Because the highest power of x for a quadratic function is actually x squared. So the highest power of x is square. So that means the degree is 2. For a cubic function, the highest degree is actually x to the power of 3. So that is why we say that this is, the degree for this is 3. Okay, by the way, constant function, why do we say the degree is 0? Because if we have a constant, it simply means that x is to the power of 0. So the highest power of x is actually 0. Okay, so those are polynomials, just an introduction. What does it mean by the degree of the polynomial? So I show that by using the example. So hopefully you guys can see what do we mean by a degree of the polynomial. Okay, so now algebraic operation in polynomials. So I'm sure you guys are very good with the addition. So we just need to collect the like term kan, term yang sama, and then kita tambah-tambah. And then I'm sure you are very good with your subtraction. You know how to minus things. For example, okay, let's say we have x squared plus 2x, and then plus with another 3x squared minus with x. Then what you should do is that you simply take the x squared together with the x squared. So this one will become 4x squared, and then 2x minus x. So this is simply positive x. So those are the addition. Subtraction, for example, x squared plus 2x minus with 3x squared minus x. So you might want to expand them a little bit. So this is x squared plus 2x minus 3x squared, and then plus with x. So simplify them, x squared minus 3x squared. So this is negative 2x squared. 2x plus x, so they will become 3x. So we simply do the operation together with the like term. So term sepunya, apa orang panggil, sebutan sepunya. Okay, so term yang sama. So we gonna say them as the like term. Like tau. Like. Like term. Term yang sama. Okay, so multiplication, how are we going to do multiplication? So for example, you have x plus 2 multiply with x minus 2. So of course, you should expand them. So they will become x times x, which is x squared, and then minus with 2x, plus with 2x, minus with 4. Simplify them, then they will become x squared minus 4. So those are how we do multiplication. So one thing that you should note is that when you are doing multiplication, the highest power of x will be different depending on the value of x over here and the value of x over here. X to the power of what? I mean the order for x over here and the order for x over here. So power yang baru ni dia akan depends on power orang yang lama tu lah. Kita hanya perlu tambah the index kan. So we only add the index. So that will become the new highest power for us. Okay, so now a division, how to do the long division. So I'll show you later on, but this is just a simple note on how to do the division. So basically, if let's say we are given some polynomial, divide with some divisor. So we have a polynomial, divide with some divisor. So what we are going to do is that we are going to do this kind of process. So you're going to write down your polynomial inside and then your divisor outside. And then you are going to find out what is the quotient and then check if you have any remainder. And then the way we write them down is in these two format. So you can choose the first one or the second one. So this is what happened when you do the long division. You can either write your answer in the first one or the second one. So lepas buat long division, boleh pilih lah nak tulis yang mana satu. Okay, so if we have px over dx, that is actually equal to qx. So we are going to take our quotient plus with the remainder, our divide with our divisor, or you can say that times everything with our divisor. So px is equal to qx multiply with dx and then plus with rx. Just in case you couldn't remember which one over with which one, then you might want to remember how to divide. Let's say I give you 3 divide by 2. So 3 over 2. How do we do the division for them? Okay, so 3 over 2. So of course, you're going to do 3 inside of it and then 3 outside. And then you're going to find what is the quotient. So 2 times with what in order to get something that is less than or equal to 3. So of course, 2 times 1. So we are going to get minus 2 and then we have 1. Okay, so this thing over here that can be replaced with your polynomial. And the thing outside over here, those are your divisor. The one at the top, those are our quotient. The one at the bottom, those are known as the remainder. So this is basically what we are going to do with the polynomial. So yang ni nombor je kan, kalau zaman sekolah tu kita buat nombor je. So now we are going to see them in polynomial form. Okay, so in polynomial form, I give you some tips. Make sure you always arrange your polynomial from the highest to the lowest power of x. So I think that one will become the easiest way to do the long division. So you must make sure that your polynomial, your px, as well as your dx, you must arrange them in descending order. So kita kena start dengan highest power and then we go to something lower. So dia memang kena start dengan highest power dulu lah. Yang power yang paling tinggi kat depan and then baru turun. Dia akan jadi senang macam tu. Okay, so those are my tips. Before we start with the long division, always make sure your polynomial start with the highest power and keep on going down until you reach constant, of course. Okay, so now let us try to do the long division. So we got x squared minus 2x minus 8 divided by x minus 4. So firstly, of course, we should write them down in the correct form. So we're going to have x squared minus 2x minus 8 inside and then x minus 4 outside. So let me copy down my polynomial. So this is my polynomial px, and then I need to divide by x minus 4. So this is my divisor dx. Okay, so let us have the polynomial, and then of course the symbol, and then of course the divisor. Okay, so now we should think a little bit. Okay, so x multiply with what can get x squared. So this is my aim over here. I want to get x squared. So x multiply with what in order to get x squared? So of course, obviously, we should multiply them with x. Okay, so x multiply with x squared, we are going to get x multiply with x, we are going to get x squared. Okay, so x times x is x squared. Of course, you should take another one, negative 4 multiply with x, then they will become negative 4x. Okay, so we got x squared minus 4x. So x times x is x squared, negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And then you should deduct them. So minus them. Okay, so x squared minus x squared is simply 0. And then negative 2x, negative 4x. So it will be like negative 2x, positive 4x, which will give you, of course, 2x. And then you simply bring down this one. So we got 2x minus with 8. And then we continue to do our division. Why? Because the power for this is equal to this one. If you want to stop doing your long division, the remainder over here, the highest power for them should be less than your divisor. Okay, so now they are equal. Since they are equal, I can actually divide them again. So x multiply with what in order to get 2x. So x times what in order to get 2x. So of course, we have to times them with positive 2. So times with positive 2, we are going to get x times with positive 2, which is 2x. Negative 4 multiply with 2, they will become negative 8. So we are still going to get 2x minus 8. And then you deduct them. What is the remainder after that? So we got 2x minus 2x, which is 0. Negative 8, negative 8. So they are equal. So when you deduct them, they should be equal to 0. So our remainder is actually equal to 0. Okay, so how to write them down? Okay, so you can use any format that you want. So for me, I'll choose to write them down in two form. Okay, so the first one is px over dx. So x squared minus 2x minus 8 minus 2x minus 8 over x minus 4. So that is equal to our quotient. So the quotient over here is x plus 2. And then do we have any remainder? So I have 0 as the remainder, so I'll choose not to write them down. So since the remainder is 0, I'll choose not to write them. Okay, so now the second form where we simply times everything with our dx. So that means x squared minus 2x minus 8 is actually x plus 2, x minus 4. Okay, as you can see, the long division can be quite useful when we want to factorize things, because as long as the remainder is 0, so that means we can easily factorize them. So dia dah dalam bentuk bracket yang cantik lah macam kita factorize. Sebab belakang ni dia tambah dengan kosong. So boleh buat long division lah kalau kata start kan. Boleh lah buat long division kalau nak factorize dia. Okay, next. Find the quotient and remainder for x cubed minus 2x plus 5 over x squared plus 3x. Okay, so if you look at your polynomial over here, so at the top, we're going to call them as px. At the bottom, we're going to call them as the dx, right? Okay, so if you refer to your px, as you can see, we actually miss one of the power. So we have x cubed, but we don't have anything with x squared. We do have something with x, and then we do have a constant. So I don't see anything with x squared. So for me, when I write them down, I'm going to write down 0x squared so that I can have them in descending order. So I don't miss anything. I don't miss out anything sebab nanti tiba-tiba je bila dia tak ada tu nak cari balik payah. So better for us to check the power and make sure everything is in descending order. Kena turun bawah lah. Descending order. Must be in descending order. So start with x cubed, x squared, x and then constant. And then if you refer to your divisor over here, your divisor is x squared and then x. So those are okay because we already have them in descending order. Okay, so let us write down our polynomial. So we got x cubed plus 0x squared. Like I told you, I simply add the 0x squared because I don't see anything with x squared over there. So x cubed plus 0x squared minus 2x plus 5. And then we are going to divide them with x squared plus with 3x. Okay, and then the question that we need to ask ourselves is that x squared multiply with what in order to get x cubed? So of course, x squared will be multiplied with x in order to get x cubed. So I know at the top, I have to write down x. Okay, once I did that, what did I do next is that I have to times them again. So x squared times with x, 3x times with x. So x squared times x is x cubed, 3x times x is 3x squared. And then you simply need to minus them. Okay, so be extra careful when you minus them. Make sure the sign is correct. Okay, so x cubed minus x cubed, those one will become 0. And then we have 0 minus 3x squared. So what are we going to get is negative 3x squared. So over here, negative 3x squared. And I simply bring down negative 2x. So they will become negative 3x squared minus 2x. And then we must ask ourselves, are we going to continue or should we stop over here? You have to check the power. So the power for the remainder is x squared. The power for the divisor is x squared. So they are actually equal. So that means I can do another long division for them. Okay, so x squared multiply with what? In order to get negative 3x squared. So of course, x squared will be multiplied with negative 3. So I know I have to multiply them with negative 3. Okay, so what happened next is of course we need to times them. So let me erase this a little bit so that we can see what happened. Okay, so of course x squared will be multiplied with negative 3 and then 3x will be multiplied with negative 3. So x squared times negative 3 is negative 3x squared. 3x times with negative 3, they will become negative 9. Okay, and then of course you should minus the. Okay, so negative 3x squared, negative 3x squared, those two will cancel out each other. So we have negative 2x, positive 9x. So don't forget negative, negative, they will become positive. So negative 2x, positive 9x. And that answer is simply 7x. And then simply bring down the constant again. Okay, so we got 7x plus 5. Again, we have to check, are we still going to continue or not? So now we got x squared. So the power for my remainder is actually lower than my divisor. So I should stop over here. So we must stop. That is my remainder. Okay, so write them down in the form. So you can choose either one that you want. Okay, so I'm choosing the first one. So px over dx is equal to qx, which is at the top. And then plus with my remainder, 7x plus 5 over x squared plus with 3x. So what is the quotient? The quotient is x minus 3. The remainder is 7x plus 5. Okay, so just in case you couldn't really get, if the divisor is a quadratic function, your remainder should be at least linear. At most linear, at least, but at most linear. Dia sama ada linear ataupun constant. So if you have a quadratic, then your remainder should be linear or constant. If you have a cubic as your divisor, then your remainder will be either a quadratic, a linear or a constant. So dia mesti kena rendah sikit daripada divisor. Divisor square, remainder kena linear. Mesti rendah, power yang rendah sikit. Okay, next. Okay, so now let us proceed with 6.2, the remainder theorem, factor theorem, and then zeros of polynomial. Okay, so for today, I'll just do the remainder as well as the factor theorem. Okay, so 6.1, it doesn't seem that hard, right? So the only take home you have to know is how to do the long division. So you must remember how to do the long division. And the one that I said earlier, which I say that if you divide with a quadratic, what will happen with your remainder? If you divide with a cubic, what will happen with your remainder? So those are the things that will be in your note. So yang tu kena fahamkan lah. Okay, so now the remainder as well as the factor theorem. So what do we mean by the remainder and the factor theorem? Okay, so I do a mind map. Ini memang literal punya map. Okay, so now we are going to start with the remainder theorem. What do we mean by the remainder theorem? Okay, so basically in your syllabus, it should be either A or B. So either your divisor is a linear function or your divisor is a quadratic function. So in remainder theorem, what do you need to understand is that if let's say we have a linear function as our divisor, then if I substitute the value for A in my polynomial, that will become directly my remainder. So if let's say my Px is equal to, let's say, x squared minus 2x minus with 3. And then I say that my divisor is x minus 1. Let's say x minus 1. Okay, so what happened? If you want to know what is the remainder, you can actually do the long division. That works as well. But since we are at 6.2, we have to learn how to do the remainder theorem. Therefore, to find the remainder, you might want to do something like this. So we know that R of A is equal to P of A. So if I want to know what is the remainder when I divide with x minus 1, so I simply substitute with 1. So you're going to let your divisor equal to 0 to know what is the value that you are going to substitute. So x minus 1 equal to 0, therefore x will be equal to 1. So we are going to try to substitute with x equal to 1. So we have 1 minus 2 minus 3. So this answer will be equal to negative 4. So you can try to do your long division, x squared minus 2x minus 3, divide with x minus 1. At the end, your remainder will be similar to what they have over here, which is negative 4. So that is basically what do they mean over here. Okay, so definitely get some constant. Okay, what is it over here is that if you have a quadratic as your divisor, so if you can factorize them, then they will become x minus a, x minus b. Your remainder will be in the form of a quadrat of a linear function, which is Rx equal to Ax plus B. Like I told you before, your remainder should be lower compared to your divisor. So if your divisor is a quadratic, then your remainder should be a linear function. Sorry. Pagi-pagi ni mulut ni tak apa-apa lah. Okay, so if divisor is a quadratic, the remainder is a linear. So just remember that. So we're gonna see how we are going to use this in the question later on. And then the factor theorem, what do we mean by a factor theorem is that it actually comes from the remainder theorem. just a specific case or a special case for the remainder theorem. If let's say you substitute with the value of A and then suddenly you see, oh no, the remainder is 0. So what do they mean is that your divisor is actually your factor, because when you try to substitute, you are going to get 0. So they simply mean that whatever your divisor is, those are actually the factor of our polynomial. So I think we're going to see them later on. The factor theorem, this one, and then this one. We have quite a few examples actually. Okay, next. Find the remainder when x to the power of 4 plus x cubed minus 2x squared plus 4x minus 5 is divided by x plus 3. Again, let me put more emphasis on here. You can actually do the long division. It doesn't matter. But the long division might take longer compared to the remainder theorem. That's why we are learning the remainder theorem. Because if we simply divide with some linear function, it will be easier if we do the remainder theorem. Okay, let me show you how. Okay, so we got px is x to the power of 4 plus x cubed minus 2x squared plus 4x minus with 5. So we are dividing with x plus 3. So you are going to let them be 0. So x will be equal to negative 3. So I will try to substitute with x equal to negative 3 and see what is the value. Okay, so the remainder is equal to p of negative 3. So substitute x with negative 3. So simply go and find all those x. You sub them with negative 3. So they will become negative 3 to the power of 4 plus negative 3 cube, negative 2, negative 3 square, plus 4 times with negative 3 and then minus with 5. And then of course you're going to simplify them. So the remainder is simply equal to 19. So of course, this is much more easier compared with the long division part, sebab long division banyak dan panjang cerita dia untuk dapat remainder yang 19. But of course, you can actually verify them later on. So you can take your polynomial, you can try to divide them with x plus 3, use the long division. You will totally get the same answer, which is equal to 19 over here. Okay, next. When x to the power of 4 plus kx cubed plus 5x squared minus 6x minus 8 is divided by x plus 2, the remainder is 16. Determine the value of k. Alright, so firstly, we have to write down what is the polynomial. So px is x to the power of 4 plus kx cubed plus 5x squared minus 6x minus 8. Okay, so the remainder is 16. So we are talking about r. So r of over here, this is our divisor. So x plus 2 equal to 0, x equal to negative 2. So that means r of negative 2 is actually equal to 16. And then we simply want to find out what is the value of k. Okay, so what do we know is that p of negative 2 is equal to r of negative 2. So this is actually based from the remainder theorem. The remainder theorem tells us that p of a is actually equal to r of a. Okay, so p of negative 2, they simply means that every time I see the x, I should replace them with negative 2. And then r of negative 2, we already have the value up there, which is simply equal to 16. Okay, so negative 2 cubed plus k, negative 2 to the power of 4, sorry, plus k, negative 2 cubed plus 5, negative 2 square, negative 6, negative 2, negative 8 equal to 16. And then simplify them. What do you have is 16 minus 8k plus 20 plus 12 minus 8 equal to 16. And then of course, you're going to let the k as the subject, bring all the numbers to the right hand side, and then find out what is the value of k. Okay, so k is simply equal to 3. So when you simplify them, you should be able to see that k is equal to 3. So kalau tak, kena kira satu-satu lah. 16 buat 16 nanti. So negative 8k. So this is 20, 32. 32 minus 8. So this is equal to 24, negative 24. So that is how you get k equal to 3. Okay, so example 7, example 8 now. Okay, so the polynomial ax to the power 4 minus 5x cubed plus bx square minus 7x plus 1 left a remainder of negative 8 when it is divided by x minus 1. Okay, so now let us change them into the mathematical form because otherwise it might be a little bit hard for us to extract the information later on. Okay, so the remainder of negative 8 divided by x minus 1. Okay, let me call this polynomial as px. So I simply wrote them down over here. Okay, but never mind. If you simply are given the function, the polynomial, so better to write them down as px so that we know what is our polynomial. Okay, so now my divisor is x minus 1. I got a remainder of negative 8. So I know that when I use r of 1, this is actually equal to negative 8. The remainder is equal to negative 8. And a remainder of 11 over 2 when divided by 2x plus 1. Okay, so we have 11 over 2 divided by 2x plus 1. Okay, so that means the remainder when I divide with, let's say, this is 0, so x will be negative 1 over 2. So negative 1 over 2. So the remainder of negative 1 over 2. So this is actually equal to 11 over 2. Okay, and then of course you should determine the values of A and B. Okay, so we have two equation over here. So I'm gonna substitute them into the remainder theorem where we have PA equal to RA. So I will have two equation after that. And then I'm gonna solve them simultaneously to find out the value for the A as well as the B. Okay, let's go. Okay, so P1 is equal to R1. So P1, you simply take your function, you substitute them with x equal to 1. So they will become A plus B. So I simply give you the answer for them. So A plus B is actually equal to 3. And then you're going to do another one for negative half. So P of negative half is equal to R of negative half. Again, please be extra careful with the value. So I do think that mostly lah for my student, they know how to substitute but they are having some trouble with the value. So dia memang akan ada masalah sikit masa dia nak try expand tu apa semua. So my advice is simply be extra careful, especially when you are dealing with the fraction. When you are dealing with the fraction, be extra careful. Pastikan hati-hati. Okay, so now again, I will give you what is the second equation for this one. Of course, you can try to expand and find them out on your own as well. Okay. So we are going to have A plus 4B equal to 6, and that is my second equation. Okay, so my first equation is A plus B equal to 3, and then the second one is A plus 4B equal to 6. So we have two equations with two unknowns. Of course, you can either use the elimination method or substitution method to solve them. So I simply use the elimination method because I see that the coefficient of A is equal. So I simply gonna deduct them. So we have B minus 4B, 3 minus 6. So I will have negative 3B equal to negative 3, which means that B is actually equal to 1. And then another one, you substitute the value for B in. So we got A plus 1 is equal to 3. A must be equal to 2. So now we got the value for A and we got the value for B as well. Okay, so those are example 8. Okay, so example 9. Determine the remainder when 3x to the power of 4 plus 5x cubed plus x plus 6 is divided by x square minus 1. Okay, so of course yang kita pun nak guna remainder theorem lah. Kalau rasa macam nak guna apa tu namanya, nak guna long division pun boleh, tapi sajalah untuk yang ini kita pakai remainder theorem. Sekejap saya tengah adjust awak punya kehadiran sekejap. Sementara tu bolehlah tarik nafas sekejap. Oh, baik untuk yang baru sampai. Hai semua orang. So untuk saya rasa dah boleh dah key in attendant yang baru. Bukanlah attendant yang baru, maksudnya saya dah letak tarikh yang baru lah, so boleh key in dah attendant. So nanti saya akan tengok lah. Pastikan tarikh hari ni tau. Yang dia yang tarikh yang lepas. Yo laju masuklah. Ting 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 ting. Okay dah. Balik lah pula tengok benda ni. Sabar je lah. Okay. Now. Determine the remainder when 3x to the power of 4 plus 5x cubed plus x plus 6 is divided by x square minus 1. So we are not going to do the long division. We are going to use the remainder theorem. Okay, so this one, if you refer to my mind map, so those are at the right hand side. Yang sebelah kanan tu yang kita bahagi dengan kuadratik. Sebelah kanan yang kita bahagi dengan kuadratik tu. Okay, so what happened with the remainder? So we are dividing with a quadratic function. So this is your divisor, dx. So that means your remainder, Rx, will be a linear function which is ax plus b. Okay, so our idea over here is that we are going to use the remainder theorem to get what is the value for the a over here as well as the value for b. So that is our aim. So we want to use the remainder theorem, but we want to get the value for the a as well as the value for the b. Okay, so now what is the divisor? The divisor is x square minus 1. So I can actually factorize them to become x minus 1 and x plus 1. So I have two linear factor over here. Okay, and then again I repeat. So since the divisor is a quadratic function, then that means your remainder will be a linear function which is Rx equal to ax plus with b. Okay, so now our divisor, we actually have two. So x minus 1 together with x plus 1. So x minus 1 equal to 0. So the first one I can try to substitute with x equal to 1. The second one I have x plus 1 equal to 0, x equal to negative 1. So I'll substitute with x equal to 1 together with x equal to negative 1. Okay, so now the remainder theorem, PA equal to RA. So that means if I have R1, they will become P1. R1 is equal to P1. Okay, so where is R1? So R is over here. So you simply substitute X with 1. Where is P1? So Px, and then we are going to substitute X with 1. So what we are going to get is A plus B equal to 15. So you simply substitute X with 1 for your Px. So you are going to get 3 plus 5 plus 1 plus 6. So they will become 15, which is actually our first equation. And then The second divisor is x equal to negative 1. So I will write down x at negative 1 is equal to p negative 1. Okay, again, every time you see the x, substitute them with negative 1. So substitute the x over here with negative 1. So we are going to get negative a plus b. So negative a plus b equal to, so substitute x with negative 1 for your polynomial. So you are going to get negative a plus b equal to 3, and that is actually the second equation. Okay, so now we got two equation with two unknown. What happened next is that we can simply solve them to get the value for A and B. So you can either do the elimination or the substitution method, up to you, either one. So for me, since the coefficient is quite similar, so I'm just choosing the elimination method then. So first equation plus with the second equation, so I will have 2b equal to 18, which will simply give me that b is equal to 9. And then if I substitute into the first or the second equation, so a plus 9 is equal to 15, which means that a must be equal to 6. But you cannot stop over here. They were asking for the remainder, so you must write down your remainder in the form of ax plus b. So Rx is simply equal to 6x plus 9. So you simply substitute the value for A and substitute the value for B inside the remainder. So those one will become Rx. Okay, so, oh, by the way, let me show you one of them just in case you couldn't see how we get that value. Okay, lalang saya bagilah ini juga. Just in case you couldn't see where it come. Okay, so on the left hand side, substitute with the remainder. On the right hand side, substitute with the polynomial. Nak tukar kedudukan dia pun boleh. Nak letak P kat kiri, R kat kanan pun boleh juga. Function je jangan ubah. Maksudnya janganlah tiba-tiba panggil R tu 3x square. 3x to the power 4. Remainder tu adalah ax plus b. Polynomial yang atas tu. Okay. Right, so those are example 9 and we are simply almost there. We almost finished now. We only have 2 more. Okay, so now example 10. Determine whether the following linear function are factors of the given polynomial. Okay, so again, if you refer to the mind map that I give you, should I show you that? Okay, boleh lah. Saya patah balik kat situ. Mana mind map? Tahu dah perjalanan nak si mind map membayar. Oops. Terlepas. Okay, here. Right, so this is the factor theorem that we are going to use. Like I told you before, factor theorem is actually a special case for the remainder theorem, where when we substitute with the value of A, we are going to get 0 as the remainder. So if we get 0 as the remainder, then that divisor is actually the factor of the polynomial. Okay. Right, so how to determine whether the following linear function are the factors of the given polynomial? So we basically gonna try to substitute them in, and then we're gonna see what is the remainder that we have. So we are going to use the remainder theorem. We try to substitute, and if let's say the remainder is actually equal to 0, then I know for sure that they are the factor of the polynomial. Okay, so x minus 3, you let them equal to 0. So this is actually your divisor or the factor. So you let them equal to 0. So x will be equal to 3. So simply substitute with P3. So substitute all the x with 3. So you got 3 minus 7 times 3 plus 5, 3 square minus 3 cube. And then you use your calculator for them. So P3 is actually equal to 0. which mean that x minus 3 is actually the factor of your px. So you simply substitute them and then just check what is the remainder. So if the remainder is equal to 0, then they are the factor. If we couldn't get 0, they are not the factor of the polynomial. So those are the factor theorem. Okay, so that is A. So now B. B, we have 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 8x plus with 3. And then we are going to check whether 2x minus 1 is the factor for the polynomial or not. Okay, so what happened is that you're going to let them be equal to 0. So x will be equal to half. Okay, so simply take all those x and then you substitute x with half. Okay, so we are going to check what is the remainder. Okay, so substitute them with half, it will looks like that. So 2 times half cube plus 3 times half square minus 8 times half and then plus with 3. Okay, so what happened is that p of half is actually equal to 0 as well, which means that 2x minus 1 is also a factor of px. So the same thing with what we have earlier. So sama lah macam yang tadi tu. Yang tu pun factor, ni pun factor. Dua-dua dapat kosong kan? Again, I put more emphasis over here. You should check what is the remainder. If the remainder is 0, then 2x minus 1 is a factor of px. Okay, next. The last one. Okay, the polynomial 2x cubed plus ax squared plus bx plus 8 has a factor of x minus 1 and give a remainder of it when divided by x minus 3. Determine the value for a and b. Okay, so now what do we need to see? Okay, so we have a polynomial, so I'm going to call them as px. So I simply copy down the polynomial. I name them as px because that one will be easier for me to see which one is my polynomial. Has a factor of x minus 1. What do we say about the factor is that the remainder must be equal to 0. Okay, so we know for here, for this one, r of 1 is actually equal to 0. And then a remainder of 50 when divided by x minus 3. Okay, so the remainder when we divide by 3 is actually equal to 50. So r of 1 is 0, r of 3 is 50. Okay, so now we are going to use the remainder theorem then. PA equal to RA. Okay, so P of 1 is equal to R of 1. So this is from the remainder theorem. So you simply substitute all those x with 1. So we are going to get a plus b, and that is actually equal to negative 10. So 2 times 1 cube plus a1 square plus b1 plus 8 equal to 0. So where does b1 comes from? They come from the polynomial. So we simply substitute x with 1. Where does the R1 comes from? So those come from the question. They give us that R1 is equal to 0. So that is why I can simply substitute 0 over here. So we have the first equation where we have a plus b equal to negative 10. So that is the first one. And then what happened next is that we are going to use the second remainder theorem for them. So P of 3 is equal to R of 3. Nak sebut pun payah. Okay, so P of 3 is equal to R of 3. So you simply substitute all those x with 3. R of 3 is equal to 50. So 2 times cube plus A3 squared plus B times 3, 8 equal to 50. And then, of course, you're going to simplify them a little bit. So what do we have is 9a plus 3b equal to negative 12. Okay, so of course, you can call them as your second equation over here. That doesn't really matter. But since normally for me, I'm using the elimination method. So for me, I love to have them in the simplest form. So kalau untuk saya nombor yang macam ni saya takkan panggil dia sebagai my second equation yet lah. So I'm gonna simplify them. So they will become 3a plus b. So I divide everything by 3. So 3a plus b is simply equal to -4. And this one is the one that I'm going to call them as my second equation. So lagi sekali saya ingatkan, bukanlah ingatkan, just kenapa saya panggil second equation kat sini, sebab biasanya saya akan simplify until the last one. If I can, I'll try to simplify them. Okay, so now I can see that coefficient for B are similar for both of them. So I'm going to use the elimination method, 1 minus 2. Or 2 minus 1, you can choose either one. So 1 minus 2, so A minus 3A is -2A. And then -10 plus before, so they will become -6. B minus B will simply just be cancelled out. So we have -2A is equal to -6, which means that A must be equal to 3. And then you can go either to the first equation or the second equation, just substitute the value for A equal to 3 and then find out what is the value for B. Okay, so I'm using the first equation. So I have 3 plus b equal to -10. So that means b must be equal to -10, -3, which means that b must be equal to -13. And that's it for example 11. So I already find out what is the value for a, and I already find out what is the value of b. Done. Okay, so thank you for listening. So I'll see you guys this coming Wednesday then. So kejap lagi saya bagi tugasan dekat Telegram. So kejap lagi. Tunggulah dekat Telegram. Kejap lagi saya pass soalan untuk hari ni Okay, so kita jumpa hari Rabu nanti. Bye bye everyone. Have a nice day. Ni nak cakap sampai awal lah ni kot. Pekat-pekat. Cakap, kalau cakap thank you, cakap bye-bye tu maksudnya dia sampai awal lah tu. Mari nak tengok sikit siapa yang sampai awal. Saja je lah. Siapa yang sampai awal ni? Fazhah. Fazhah? Bukan last batch ke? Nak belajar lagi ke? Okay, Suraya. Lepas tu Ayu Adila, Syahira, Ashraf, Syamsatul Adawiyah, Fadisha, Atira. Okay, bye-bye. Untuk yang sampai awal. Oh, dengar dari awal. Naik notification. Rajin budak-budak ni mendengar. Syok dengar. Sabar je lah. Welcome. Bye-bye.